following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Well, folks, week one of the NFL is completed. I may ugly cry on the internet. Who knows? But stay tuned. But in the meantime, welcome to No Credentials Required, where you don't need a press pass to talk sports. We're presented by Belly Up Sports in association with Godzilla Media. To my right is a man who did not tear his Achilles tendon on the fourth play of the game, Dustin Henry. Dustin, how are we doing tonight?
I did not tear my Achilles tendon, it's true, but I was shoved by DK Metcalf, so I'm still recovering from that.
Suspension!
I'm doing all right, but both of us, I think, are hurting a little bit after week one. Happy the NFL season is back, but suffice it to say, we'll get into it, but it did not start the way either of us had hoped.
In a way, for me, it was bittersweet, but we'll get to that in just a moment. We just want to remind you first off to go to our social media channels, which are right down here on Twitter. You know what? I'm still going to call it Twitter. I don't call it
always
X.
Twitter.
Call it
never
Twitter.
X.
I'm going to be a contrarian and call it Twitter. So Twitter, Instagram, and the scarcely used TikTok. It's at NoCredsREQ. Facebook.com/NoCredsREQ. YouTube.com/NoCredsREQ. And while you're at it, if you're watching live or on replay, why don't you go ahead and do us a favor and smash that like button. Smash it responsibly. And speaking of smash, Dustin, we've been smashing it with our YouTube numbers for a couple weeks now. We're at 286 subscribers now.
Oh boy, can we get to 300 by next week? Let's find out.
300. Let's get to 300. So if you're not already subscribed, subscribe. Notifications, all that stuff. Also, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram. I may not update Instagram as much, but we're going to try our best to do a lot more of that in the coming weeks. If you're listening on the audio side, subscribe to the podcast on a myriad of podcast networks, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Google Play, iHeart, TuneIn, wherever you podcast, and make sure you also rate and review. 5 stars rating is preferable. Review it if you can. And if you can rate it or review it, we may even read it on the air, no matter how awesome or how vile your review is. We will make sure we read it on the air. And Dustin, and because this is a live show, also it's on replay, but it's a live show. We engage with our show. We engage with our audience. We want your comments. And Dustin, I know it's the Seahawks didn't have a great week, but I know this music will soothe your angst.
Yes.
Again, folks, the AEC stands for Algorithmic Engagement Comment, which means more people will notice this show when you comment. So comment with the show, leave us a like, leave us a like, leave us a like on the socials, follow us on socials, engage with the show during the show. Let's get into it. And we got to start off, Dustin. And we've already got a comment from our friend Wonko the saying, "Go get it, guys. Have a great show. Who knew before week one that the Packers got the better of that trade? That's to be determined." He said, "Not me." He said, "Not me," but that's to be determined. All I know is that I can guarantee the Packers will not get a first-round pick this season.
Yes.
They upcoming draft.
They will get a second round.
They will get a second-round pick. Too bad, so sad.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, we're going to start off with our review of week one of the 2023 NFL season. And we're going to stick to the same formula as we did last year. We're going to go through the biggest upsets, biggest disappointments, the most entertaining game, most notable performance, and our hottest individual takeaway from the week. We'll also look forward We'll also look forward to what's going on in week 2 and what we're going to watch out for. So let's start with the biggest upset of the week. And Dustin, what's your biggest upset of the week? There were plenty to go around, I thought.
Yes.
But what's your biggest upset of the week?
Yes, there was. And people might think I'm going to talk about one game, but I'm saving that for another category we have here. My biggest upset, just because it surprised me. And as you may remember, last week I cooked up my own version of spicy gumbo. Yes, I'm going to make this a thing. Chef Ryan in there stirring it. Now,
Dustin's spicy gumbo. We can make that a sponsor.
Yeah. The Battle of Ohio for me was the biggest upset. The Browns came out and they beat a completely inept looking Bengal offense, which this Bengal offense, slow starts have become a pattern for one Joe Burrow. So some people may say, hey, you're making too much out of it. But to me, this made more of a statement about the Browns defense. I think the Browns defense is for real. Nick Chubb continued to run. He didn't get a touchdown in this game, but he ran. And if Deshaun Watson can be any semblance of the player he was in Houston, which his passes, there were some of them. I saw a lot of this game because I was at a birthday party. I missed a lot of the early window, much more familiar with the late window. But Deshaun Watson, he skipped some of his passes. But to me, the Bengals' ineptitude was something to behold on offense. Didn't expect this. Joe Burrow didn't really play in the preseason, but the Cleveland Browns coming out with the defense that they did, that was the biggest upset of the week for me. What about you, sir?
I'm going to go with something really, really unconventional for my upset of the week. I thought the Buccaneers going into US Bank Stadium in a very hostile environment against the Vikings, who I would say many project to win the NFC. I would say some would think they're going to win the NFC Central.
Yeah.
The Vikings are a very good offensive team. Defense is something left to be desired, especially since their point differential last year was in the opposite, and yet they still won that division as the worst 12-5 or 13-4 team I've ever seen. Well, the Buccaneers went into US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and slapped the taste out of the Vikings' mouth. Despite the fact that they allowed 328 passing yards to Kirk Cousins, the Buccaneers forced 3 turnovers.
Yeah.
Cousins fumbled the ball and gave it away twice. He also threw an interception.
Mm-hmm.
And the Buccaneers did just enough. I mean, they did. Todd Bowles, like I said, Todd Bowles, not exactly the best head coach around, but he is a wonderful defensive strategist. Absolutely wonderful defensive strategist. And he did so in this game. And the Buccaneers did just enough. I mean, they had the third down short when they had the ball, I think they were either in the lead or they were driving for the game-winning field goal. Baker Mayfield sacrificed his own body to take it himself and stiff-armed a dude, very, very similar to Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
He stiff-armed a dude and got the first down. He got high tackle clothesline for his troubles, but he got the first down, then managed to get another first down, and it was over. And I thought that was a really great performance defensively for the Buccaneers. Now, I said in the preview last week, yeah, you're relying on Baker Mayfield. The line needs to protect him, and he did an okay job. I have the sack total in front of me. I'm not sure how many sacks they gave up. And I thought with Ryan Jensen being gone for the year, I thought there's no way that they're going to win a whole lot of games this year. But I thought this was a big upset because Minnesota's got they're one of the highest octane offenses in the league. We all know that. And they get limited to 17 points despite all those passing yards. A great defensive game plan by the Buccaneers, I thought.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, maybe I was just a year too late on saying Baker was going to come out with that FU energy, because he did in this game. He talked trash. He was saying, you're not big enough to tackle me, after that. Mm-hmm. But I will tell you this, given the division that the Buccaneers are in, if Baker Mayfield plays like this, they have a shot to be competitive in that division because there's no real, except for the Saints. Who do you think is going to win that division? The Buccaneers could do something. This was a surprising game for me.
Yeah, I mean, it was a surprising game for me too. I do want to address one question that came in the comments section before we move on to our next segment from Brian Germ. He says, "So which veteran quarterback will the Jets bring in?" I don't know, honestly. I don't know. I think what they'll do. My prediction is that with Zach Wilson having a decent performance, I mean, he's still kind of fitting his way into this offense. He didn't know it at the back of his hand like Aaron Rodgers did. But I think they'll give it a couple weeks. They'll reevaluate things at in the bye week because they have a bye week coming up in week 7. And if they need to, they'll probably make a trade at the trade deadline. I mean, that was partly the reason why Aaron Rodgers took that pay cut before the season started, is because he wanted the Jets to bring in more. They wanted the Jets to bring in more pieces to complete this puzzle. I mean, there's still some pieces missing on this team, notably the offensive line. But in terms of who they'll bring in, I don't really know. I mean, if the Titans are garbage by week 6 or by the trade deadline in late October, they may make a move for him, although he's very expensive and he's 35 years old. But they may bring back Joe Flacco. They could bring in Jameis Winston. They'll make me very crabby if they bring in Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
If you don't get that joke, then Google it. Just Google Jameis Winston and crabs.
You might get some unintended results there.
You might get an unintended results.
Yeah.
And by the way, stop sending me memes about the Jets picking up Colin Kaepernick. Stop linking them together.
Yeah.
Stop it. It's over. It's over for Colin Kaepernick. Please stop.
Thank you for saying that. And we don't mean anything by that except that he last played in the NFL as a full-time starter. What was it, 2012? I mean, come on. Yeah. It's been a long time. We're not making any commentary on Colin Kaepernick as a person or anything like that. But these reports,
I will second.
any reports that continue, these reports that continue to come out linking him to teams whenever a quarterback goes down, it's ridiculous. He hasn't played in the NFL in a very long time.
Yeah, and I'm gonna put this lady on full blast, Jamel Hill, who used to be on SportsCenter until she basically burned that bridge. She used to be on Spotify, that she burnt that bridge. Mm-hmm. She had a memoir that sold a little over 5,000 copies. She said this last night after the game was over, and she put this on the internet. She said, and I quote, "There's a quarterback right there in New Jersey who took a team to the Super Bowl and an NFL championship game. Rhymes with Hapernick."
Yeah, it's been too long. It's been too long.
I'll say this, and there'll be my last word about the man himself. Mm-hmm. This guy has made more money from his social justice grift than he ever made in the NFL. He's 35 years old. He hasn't played down in the NFL since burning that bridge 7 years ago. His skill set does not match with what the Jets are doing offensively, and he'll make a rider list like he's a rock star a mile long just to be brought in. Absolutely not.
Well, and the other thing is, let's not pretend there were 2 teams that would have brought him in if they thought they could still play. And I would say the Raiders would have kicked the tires on him many times because I
think Mark Davis mentioned that he would have kicked the tires on him.
And also, I would say that given some of the quarterback, this would have been prior to Prescott, but Jerry Jones would have found a way to bring him in because Jerry Jones has also brought in players. He brought Greg Hardy back. If you have talent in the NFL, someone will sign you. So the fact that he has not been signed, whether you can think whatever you want, but there would have been an owner. You're telling me that at some point the Dan Snyder owned Redskins wouldn't have given him much. There are some teams. If you have talent in the NFL, someone will sign you. Talent overrides all.
And to Jamel Hill for that absolutely hot lava burning take. I have this to say to you, miss.
Bitch, are you for real?
We're moving on. Biggest disappointment. I'll start off this one. The New York Football Giants laid a gigantic egg on national television on Sunday night against the Cowboys. This was ugly from the start. It's 16-0 after the first quarter. At the end of the third quarter, it's 33-0. People are exiting the stands. And we talked about this last week, Dustin. I had this team as a playoff team. I had the entire NFC East playoffs this year. That is New York Football Giants. I think they're in for a rough road ahead. And my buddy Drew from In and Out Sports Debate, shout out to Drew Willie, he got some pretty cool stuff coming down the road. He predicted the Giants would go 0-8 before their bye week in Week 9.
Wow.
Performance, I don't see how they don't. But I mean, we've got a long road ahead. It's only one. But this team was just such a big disappointment on both sides of the ball. And I want my prediction to come true. I'm related to a New York Jets fan. My brother Jim I'm related to a Giants fan. Mm-hmm. My brother Jim is a big Giants fan. He was all excited for this season. Your uncle Al. Oh yeah, huge Giants fan. Yeah, that egg that they laid on national television. I don't know. I mean, I know they got to pick it up. Saquon Barkley has only been in camp for like the last 2 weeks of the season, but that situation brought the Giants down a bit.
Oh yeah, I mean, this was my runner-up for biggest disappointment, and I will tell you, my aforementioned Uncle Al, he did text me during the game. Yeah,
what you said,
and he's in the chat right now. Shout out to you. And he said, "Is it the Giants' offensive line or is it the Dallas defense?" And
yes.
to me,
yes,
it's both. To me, I said I didn't know because the game was still going on. I think at that point it was 26-0 or something, and I thought the Giants would mount some sort of offense. They'd be able to get something going, and to some degree, I do think Brian Daboll's a good enough coach to right the ship a little bit. And playing the Arizona Cardinals is probably going to be a cure for what ails you. But I wonder if the Dallas defense is this dominant. The NFC's in trouble if the Dallas defense can do this against every team.
Well, they got my Jets next week. And again, my prediction, I said this last week in the program, that for every interception Dak Prescott throws against the Jets, and he said this before the season started, I'm going to throw only 10 interceptions or less this year. For every interception he throws against the Jets, which is a possibility now, because I'll talk about that in a few minutes, I will donate $50 to his foundation, to his charity. So we'll see what happens.
You could be giving up some scratch, my friend.
I could. We'll see if I do a straight donation or I just do installments.
Yeah.
But Dustin, I think I know it's coming for your biggest disappointment. What's your biggest disappointment for week 1?
All right. Anyone that knows me knows what's coming. Anyone that knows me knows what's coming. I'll keep this short. And first off, I'd like to start off with an apology to all the other Seahawks fans worldwide, nationally, because I will take responsibility for this. I jinxed us because I came into the season with expectations. I watched Rain City Redemption. I was getting jacked for the season. I had actual hope coming into this season. So I'm sorry for everybody. Now, the Rams historically have played the Seahawks well, especially under Sean McVay. Sean McVay has an 8-5 record prior to their win against Seattle at home last weekend. Now, but that does not excuse the Seahawks came out. The offensive weapons that they have with this team, and also Geno Smith, much was made that Geno Smith would regress, but they have the offensive weapons. Kenneth Walker. They have probably one of the best projected receiving cores in the NFL. Guess how many yards the offense managed in the second half total?
How many?
12 yards. 12
Ugh.
yards and one
That's
first
Zach
down
Wilson-esque.
against a Rams defense that was supposed to be nothing. Now, slightly in Geno Smith's defense, Aaron Donald is a beast. I don't know if you've seen the audio clip. Adam Schefter tweeted it, among others. Geno audibly says, "Oh my God," when he tries to dump off a pass because Aaron Donald is coming screaming through right at him.
Mm-hmm.
So the Seahawks were okay in the first half. They were hanging against the Rams. Then Jason Myers missed a field goal, and then all the wheels started coming off. In the second half, they were getting beat deep by these Rams receivers, who the Rams did not have Cooper Kupp. So they're without their best offensive weapon. The DBs started getting beat. That was supposed to be one of the strong points of the team this year. The defense couldn't stop the run in the second half, a complete collapse. And then to top it all off, you got the players after the game admitting that the effort wasn't there. And DK Metcalf with a just ridiculous shove, blindside shove on a Rams player. I get it. You get frustrated, but you can't be a hothead like that, especially when the effort isn't there. And the Seahawks better get it right next week because they got the Lions. And if they don't come out and play with some passion against the Lions team, which, oh, by the way, did upset the Chiefs, you could be in some big trouble. It could be a long season in Seattle. I'm sorry, everybody.
Well, for Mason's disappointment, I'm pretty sure you feel a lot better now that you got that off your chest.
I do.
Let's go to our most entertaining game, and I think, Dustin, we're in agreement. We're in agreement on the most entertaining game of the week. I had Dolphins Chargers as the most entertaining game of the week. I'm pretty sure you would agree.
To me, that was the pick of this. That was the only pick. Not to say that there wasn't some good games in week one, but man, Chargers Dolphins is why we watched the game.
Yep, and I'm going to say this. This is going to be my take about the hottest individual. Not the hottest individual. Yeah, my hottest individual take of the week. This was my original take.
Yeah, Brandon
Staley. Why? Why are you an NFL head coach? Why? You were driving down. Look. I give full credit to the game plan of who is our offensive coordinator now? Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore had a great game plan. They were mixing up the pass and the run. They were running the ball effectively. They were keeping the Dolphins' offense off the field, which is the best defensive strategy you could have against that defense, is to keep them off the field because of what they were doing between Tua and Tyreek Hill, which they were brilliant all game long too. But you had the opportunity to put your foot on their throats up 31-30 late in I'd say probably with about 5 minutes left in the game.
Yeah,
Dustin, if I remember correctly.
Like that. Yeah. You
had an opportunity. You had three chances to put the ball in the end zone, go up 8, and force the Dolphins to score a touchdown and go for 2 to put the game into overtime. No. You decided to go with the analytical route like you always do, the Aaron Boone thing, kick a field goal, and try to make your defense win the game. Your defense did nothing against this passing offense for the Dolphins.
Oh, man.
Absolutely nothing. You could not stop Tyreek Hill. You could not stop a leak in a paper bag. That's how bad the defense was. And Brandon Staley's a defensive guy. Brandon Staley's a defensive guy, and yet his defense, they put the onus on the defense. The defense didn't come through. Dolphins marched down the field, get the game-winning touchdown. The Dolphins defense closed it out, forcing Herbert to throw that awful pass while he's still between the tackles, get an intentional grounding, then force him to throw an interception, force him to throw 2 incompletions, then sack him and end the game.
Yeah,
that was. I don't know why he's still a head coach in the NFL.
No, I remember we were hypothesizing last year after they blew that lead to the Jags.
That
That I remember Scott
I remember
was here
being at
watching
your
the
house,
game.
and I remember being at your
Yes.
house during
Yes.
that wild card game and leaving because I thought, all right, Chargers got this one in the bag.
Yeah,
Wake
you
up the
left.
next morning. I wake up the next morning, 31-30 Jaguars. Like,
Yeah, and I remember
ugh.
after you left, Scott and I were watching the game, and Scott turned to me and said, "Brandon Staley's going to be fired on the tarmac." He was basically saying that
He's gonna get Herm Edwards.
yeah, yeah, and it didn't happen. It didn't happen. And now look what's happened. He's blowing games. This was a winnable game for the Chargers. Now it made for a beautiful game. Tua Tagovailoa looked great. It was nice to see him out there.
Any game Kevin Harlan is the play-by-play guy.
Yeah.
He makes boring games sound exciting. But this was not a boring game. This is not a boring game.
Not at all. Not at all. But it continues to confound me because now he's doing it again. And I wrote in my notes, I said the Chargers always find a way to lose these games. They don't find a way to win them. They find a way to lose them. And I'm not just putting it on Brandon Staley, although he has been unquestionably the cause of it most recently. But this culture has permeated, as I said before the season start, this has been an LA/San Diego Chargers thing for a long time. A long time. Even under Marty Schottenheimer, when they had their best years, something would always happen. LaDainian Tomlinson getting injured. They would find a way down the stretch to lose in the big games. And to me, this was a big game. It was your season opener. You were up. Should have been a win. You snatched defeat from the jaws of victory on this one, Brandon Staley. And I don't know how you didn't get fired on the tarmac last year. Not calling for anybody's job. I'm not hoping for anybody to get fired, but at some point, something's got to happen.
Yeah, and the road ahead for the Chargers is not going to be easy. Not going to be easy.
No.
Well, it's we're going to take a quick commercial break before we get into our next couple segments. But first, this PSA from Wise El Jefe.
The following is a public service announcement from Wise El Jefe.
Boston.
This has been a public service announcement from Wise El Jefe.
I had to throw that in there.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing, after all, doubleheader today.
That's right, and Yankees took the first game. So anyway, take a quick commercial break from our friends at Invader Coffee. This episode of No Credentials Required is brought to you by Invader Coffee. For the coffee lover who wants good, quality coffee with no bullshit and no filler, Invader Coffee is an ultra-premium, veteran-owned coffee company proudly delivering only the best coffee your hard-earned money can buy. They aim to only serve the highest quality, organic, air-roasted coffee beans sourced from free trade farms all over the world. They keep things simple. The best coffee at an affordable price in order to provide you with the value you deserve for your morning boost. 100% fair trade, 100% organic coffee beans, 100% air-roasted, 100% money-back guarantee. Visit invadercoffee.com, enter promo code BELLYUP at checkout, and receive 15% off your order. That's right, folks. Get yourself some excellent coffee, veteran-owned coffee company. They're based in Austin, Texas, but they make quality coffee. Look, I know we have pumpkin spice season. Why? We still have it in the middle of summer. But pumpkin pecan is coming soon. Because I know Dustin enjoyed that. Enjoyed that particular blend. They still got the original blend. They still got the Outlander. I believe they still have the Outlander. They just refilled on Mexican chocolate, which is our buddy Snowman's favorite. Also, they have the break-in case of emergency. So yeah, get yourself some really great coffee. Click the link in the description, which is our affiliate link, and then you use promo code BELLYUP at checkout. You get 15% off your order for some of the best coffee around. Dustin, I'm pretty sure, like I said, you've attested to their magnificence before, and I'm sure you will again once you get your pumpkin pecan. Pecan blend.
I will be talking about that, and I'll probably get some K cups for the office every once in a while. I like to do that. Even though I will keep it anonymous, we are supplied a certain type of coffee at the office. I bring in Invader quite frequently for myself, and selfishly, I hide it in my desk, and I go down when I need a little Invader pick-me-up because it is superior to the coffee we have at the office.
Good plan. So yes, folks, that's right. again, visit the link in the description. That's our affiliate link. We get a little bit of a kickback when you order from our link. And again, you save 15% off your order by using promo code BELLYUP. Before we go to the next two things, I just want to visit the comment section real quick. Captain Lou Gimmelin from the Captain Lou Sports Network. He says Flacco will be brought in for the Jets, which I could see because he was.
I mean, it makes sense.
It's some familiarity.
Yeah. Some of the other names I've seen bandied about, we got Trevor Siemian, which did he play for the Jets briefly? I think he did.
Yes, he did briefly in 2019, I want to say.
Yeah, something like that. And then the other one, which I think this is another one, nothing against him either, but people have been throwing Cam Newton out there. If this was
no,
if this was mid-20s Cam, take yourself some Cam Newton, but he's not there anymore. He's not there anymore.
His arm's not there anymore, and he'll be brought in for short yard situations. I reckon.
Yeah,
I reckon.
he was great. There's no disputing that Cam was great in his time, but because he was big, he got beat up more than almost any other quarterback the way that he ran.
Yep. The way, and they protected him poorly, and that's why he's not played right now.
Yeah.
Wonko says Cowboys Giants was my upset of the week. Not as high on New York as most, but was a lot lower on Dallas than most too.
Yeah, the tough thing is after week one, we don't want to overreact, but it also, certain things make you say, wow, and that was one of them.
Captain Lou says Cino is well be donating for the
oh man
in regards to the Jets turning over Dak Prescott, and that PSA your uncle approves.
yeah we've been playing that one for a while.
That was a gift from our buddy Cole Johnson, who made another really great gift for us in the form of a commercial that they play on Snowman in the Morning now. So
awesome.
So really great, Cole Johnson. Big shout out to you, my friend.
Shout out to you. We'll have to rank Super Bowl spreads again with you soon, sometime, my friend.
That's for sure. All right, moving on. We're going to continue on week one with our most notable performances of the week. And Dustin, I want you to go ahead and lead off for this one. Who was your most notable performance of this week?
Okay, well, my most notable performance this week, and I know he didn't have the most flashiest stats, but he played darn well enough, and that for me is Calvin Ridley. To come on the football field for the first time since October of 21. When I first saw that, I thought it was a misprint, but then I remembered he did miss the entire 2022 season, and he missed a big chunk of the 2021 season as well.
Yep.
To come on the field and look the way that he did and have 8 receptions for 101 yards and a touchdown, it was just very impressive for me. He is immediately the de facto number 1 receiver in Jacksonville, and it's clear that Trevor Lawrence is developing a chemistry with him. He looked for Calvin 11 times, and Calvin caught 8 of those balls. Very impressive to me. It's nice to see him back on the field. Hope he's got everything figured out now, because, man, you forget how talented he was, and now we're all seeing it again.
Mm-hmm. Yep. For me, the most notable performance of week one was the Dallas Cowboys defense, and I mentioned that the New York Giants laid that not so golden egg on national television on Sunday Night Football. But the part of the reason why is because Dallas's defensive game plan. 7 sacks. They forced Daboll's hand, and they took out they did a big old hook to Daniel Jones early so he didn't get hurt. They bring in Tyrod Taylor to finish the game. 7 sacks, a pick 6, a fumble recovery, and only 173 net yards against an offense that was highly productive last year. They were averaging at least 250 yards a game, if I remember correctly. They allow only 173 net yards, both passing and rushing. this was a completely dominant performance by the Dallas Cowboys. And I know it's something that most Giants fans, majority of Giants fans would not want to hear right now, giving a lot of respect to Dallas. But you got to remember, Dallas is 11-1 against the Giants. I think the last, 7 years, 6-7 years, they're now 11-1 against the Giants.
Yeah.
Giants have the Cowboys have the Giants in their back pockets.
It seems that way. And the thing is, for all of Daniel Jones and his immense progress that he made last year, and I think Daniel Jones is not going to regress this much. But, as a lot of Seahawk fans will remember, Dan Quinn put together some of the best Seahawk defenses. We know what he can do on the defensive side of the ball. His defensive schemes are prone sometimes to allowing collapses. See the Super Bowl against the Patriots for the Seahawks. Then see the Super Bowl also against the Patriots when he was head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. But that aside, Dan Quinn knows his way around defense, and if he has the right players to fit his scheme, watch out, because this could be, if Dallas plays a couple more weeks of defense like this, people are going to start talking, because a defense can carry a team like that.
It's true. It's true. And your uncle says the Eagles also own the Giants right now. I think they've had the Giants in their back pocket for quite a while as well.
Yeah.
All right. So we're moving on to our hottest individual takes of the week. And Dustin, I'm going to take a little bit of control of the camera for just a brief moment. Because I got some things to say. Look, Monday night, as you can see, I'm wearing my New York Jets shirt that I got for Christmas from my mom and dad, albeit a little bit late. I'm ride or die with this team regardless. Now, I admit I did not watch the game from the full start. I was at the gym trying to get myself healthy again, getting back on that train in regards to my fitness. And I get home. I'm trying to listen to the start of the game. I can't do it, which is fine. No big deal. I'll see what happens when I turn the TV on when I get home. As soon as I get out of my car and I bring my stuff in, I'm getting alerts and text messages and social media messages on my phone. One saying that Aaron Rodgers had been carted off the field after suffering an ankle injury. I got people asking me if I'm all right. They're doing wellness checks on me because I know how much of a Jets fan I am, and how excited I was to have Aaron Rodgers in this lineup. And we come to find out today that he fully ruptures Achilles tendon, which sucks because all this hype, all this expectation and waiting, he plays 4 plays total. 4. And for the rest of the game, I'm going, all right, the Jets defense has to do one thing. Keep it respectable. Even in the loss, they have to keep it respectable. They have to keep the score respectable. We can't have a repeat like last night, like the night before, when the Giants absolutely stunk up MetLife Stadium. They can't have that kind of performance. We can't see that 2 times in a row at MetLife Stadium. Well, guess what? The Jets defense, I believe, is officially Josh Allen's kryptonite. Because their game plan was to take away the run, force the issue on Allen, which they did. They forced him to throw. And listen, there were 2 leading receivers for the Jets last night. Garrett Wilson and Jordan Whitehead. Because the Jets made Josh Allen throw 3 interceptions in his direction, and they forced a fumble, which led them to the field goal that gave them the lead, albeit very temporarily. I think the Jets had the lead for about all of a minute 30 in last night's game until the end. And I was running through a gamut of emotions the entire game long. You could feel it too. Like you could feel it in the stadium watching on TV, especially with the way Zach Wilson was doing Zach Wilson things in the first half. But this defense allowed 13 points in the first half, only 3 points after that. They forced Josh Allen's an elite quarterback, but the system he's in right now, and it's a little bit, I'd say it's a little bit of each, but most of this was on the Jets was on the Jets defense, just doing an excellent job of just making Josh Allen look human. And look at the box score. Josh Allen was sacked 5 times. He was sacked 11 times by the Jets last year. He got sacked 5 times in this game. This defense allowed only 97 rushing yards, which again, I mean, the top 2 rushers were Josh Allen was one of the top 2 rushers because of course he is, because that team does not have a feature back. But I'll wrap this up. I'll land the plane eventually. But this defense was built to win championships. And yes, we don't have Aaron Rodgers for the rest of the season anymore. It's a bummer. It's a bittersweet moment. It's a bittersweet day in New York Jets fan history, especially for the first half of the game. Garrett Wilson, that awesome catch for that touchdown.
Oh yeah,
highlight reel
to himself.
Not only that, he prevented the interception first. Then he kept body control and tipped it to himself and gathered it in and scored that touchdown. No, this defense is built to win championships. Aaron Rodgers was built in as the final piece of that championship. Unfortunately, he's done. He's done for the rest of the year. It's now on Zach Wilson to get the job done. But it's going to get done on the strength of that defense. And they just need to run the ball. Run that ball. 172 rushing yards in last night's game. And Breece Hall didn't look like he suffered an ACL injury at all.
No, not at all. And the thing is, and like we say, it's only week 1. Try to temper your expectations, not overreact to everything because the season is still young.
Yeah.
But either way, this is indicating either the Jets' run game is that good because Breece Hall looked like a world beater. And when Dalvin Cook came in, when he did, he looked ready and raring to go, and he looked like a brilliant signing. And if they use those 2 running backs the way they used them last night, the Jets are going to have one of the top rushing attacks in the NFL.
Yep.
Or if the Jets' running game isn't quite as good, it's an indicator about Buffalo's run defense and signaling that maybe Buffalo's defense could be in a little bit of trouble here. But either way, great showing for the New York Jets run game last night. Lean on that moving forward.
Yep. All right, Dustin, we got a minute or 2 left. Sorry it took so long on that.
No,
I was going to land that plane eventually, but we both
had our rants. We both had our rants, but mine was high octane. I was like a hot rod car just going for my fastest 30 seconds. You started slowly and then started picking up pace around the track.
Yeah. What's your hottest individual take from this week?
Okay, this is kind of a carryover from last year because I would say, and I'm not just saying this because I play fantasy football, Arthur Smith. Sometimes I don't know what he's doing coaching, and he would turn around and he'd tell me, I'm coaching to win football games, not fantasy football games. Well, that very well may be. But you can't continue to draft players with high picks at big offensive positions, and then you don't use them. How is Tyler Algier? No respect to him. He's made the NFL. He's a better athlete than I ever could hope to even be in my wildest dreams. If I reset the clock and I said, okay, now I'm 19, Tyler Algier, he would be better than me no matter what. Even if I had the greatest trainers and started taking all the steroids in the world and all these crazy things, Tyler Algier, still better than peak me, better than tons of people will ever be. But how are you not using Bijan Robinson? How are you not throwing the ball to Drake London? And how are you not throwing the ball to Kyle Pitts? Why do you continue to coach games the way that you do? And the frustrating thing is they win games somehow. I think part of it is the division that they're in. But Arthur Smith, eventually when the Falcons start losing, because I think they will, no offense to Falcons fans, but I just think that's the way it's going to happen. You can't sustain yourself on these game plans that he does. When you start to lose games, it's going to bite him, and it's going to cost Arthur Smith. But this coaching style just confounds me. Don't draft the players as high then. Get them in, get other players in the later rounds. Get some more value, quote unquote, picks. But you draft a tight end top 4 overall. Most teams would use that on a quarterback or maybe an offensive tackle or some centerpiece of the team. If you draft Kyle Pitts that high, you indicate that he's going to be a centerpiece of your offense. And then he's invincible. He's invincible because you keep handing the ball to Tyler Algier. You don't even the snap count was almost even between him and Bijan Robinson. If you take Bijan Robinson, what was he, 8th overall?
Yeah.
Give him more of the snaps.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Yeah, when I saw my fantasy football league that Drake London had a big old goose egg next to his name, I'm like, what is he doing? What is he doing?
Yeah, I don't understand.
I don't get it either. It's a good thing that Arthur Smith's dad is loaded rich as the founder of FedEx, because oh my God.
Well, figure out a way to tell him to stop, start delivering on these draft picks. Start using them.
Yeah. All right, folks, we're going to take our second commercial break. We come back, we're going to wrap things up with what we're looking forward to in week 2. We'll also go back to the comment section. So stay tuned. We'll enjoy this break from Manscaped, and you're listening to or watching No Credentials Required.
Spring has sprung, and our friends at Manscaped have the best tools for some spring cleaning. They've already helped you tidy up all the nooks and crannies of your body's basement. But this year, Manscaped can help you get the perfect presentation on that beautiful face with the new Beard Hedger Pro Kit. Make sure you look your best this spring by using code BELLY20 to get 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. So tame your mane with the Beard Hedger Pro Kit. The sun is peeking back out, which means you'll have to show your face in the daylight again. So use the kit to make sure your scruff looks award-winning, whether you have glorious beard flow or some smooth, sleek cheeks. Save 20% off and free shipping with the code BELLY20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code BELLY20 at manscaped.com. Focus on the face and use the Beard Hedger Pro Kit for the cleanest look in the game.
That's right, folks. Manscaped, 20% off your order by using promo code BELLY20 at checkout, plus free shipping. It is the Beard Hedger trims this wonderful beard that I have in my face currently. It does need to be trimmed. I will be using the hedge trimmer sooner than later. But you've also got the Lawnmower 4.0, the body, Lawnmower 4.0, the Weed Whacker for your nose hairs, because nose hairs are gross. And I've been finding that on a personal note, as I get older, the nose hairs can get a little bit weedy.
Oh,
you
yeah.
need something high octane to get rid of those nose hairs, because nose hairs, again, they are gross. But yeah, get yourself the Beard Hedge Trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0, the Weed Whacker, other accoutrements that Manscaped sells by going to manscaped.com. Use promo code BELLY20 at checkout. You get 20% off your order plus free shipping. And Manscaped, as always, gets the No Credentials Required seal of approval. There's old Puppers.
There he is.
Good old Puppers.
And I'll tell you about that ad. The line, cleaning out the nooks and crannies of your body's basement. That one got me. That one.
well, I'll tell you a quick story before we go on to the next segment. We wrap up the show. I had to do a live read for Manscaped a few years ago, and it involved the Ball Saxonville Jaguars as the first overall pick. Man. And I'm trying my best not to chuckle or laugh because I'm trying to keep it professional. I'm trying to not do bad by Manscaped because they're one of our premier sponsors, and I'm just
I know they write some great ad copy over there.
They do. Their copywriters are excellent. All right, we're going to go back to the comment section real quick before we move on to what we're looking forward to in week 2. Your Uncle Al says Joe Shane might look better when he gets out of the cap nightmare that Gelman put the Giants in. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that Leonard Williams signing was atrocious. And like as a former Jet, I get it. You had to sign him to keep him. He was a key part of the defense. Not so much anymore. Sorry about that. But yeah, absolutely. When cap hell, thanks to Gettleman, is done, I think the Giants will be in line to do a lot better. Wonko says, oof, feel for you, Ryan. Haven't had my phone blow up with wellness checks since the Pats got the Super Bowl INT versus Wilson. And Dustin, I'm pretty sure you get the same thing when that happened.
I did. And I also promptly blamed Derek for that. My buddy Derek, he was at the house watching the Super Bowl, and he left at halftime, and he said, Seahawks got this. Man. He jinxed me. He jinxed me.
And by the way, I blame former Victory Monday panelist Kyle Rigney for drafting Aaron Rodgers so high in our Godzilla Media league.
No.
I said you're gonna jinx it, and he said, "Well, Aaron Rodgers won me a title in another fantasy football league." Well, guess what, Kyle? 4 plays and the season's over. Thanks a lot.
Oh, man. Yeah, I will say you were the first person I thought of immediately yesterday. I feel bad. I'm not like the biggest Aaron Rodgers fan, but no, I didn't want to see him go down like this. I wanted to see what he could do. I was excited. I watched Hard Knocks. He seemed like a different guy. Seemed like he was in a better place. Seemed like maybe he was just a little bit fed up in Green Bay the last couple of years. And I was ready to see what he could do. And I was excited for you and the other Jets fans that I know. And I immediately thought about it. There was a guy at bowling. He's a Jets fan. And he was so exuberant because the start of the game was on TV as we're wrapping up bowling. And you see Aaron Rodgers run out onto the field with that flag, and you could hear the stadium was rocking. He came down to me and he said, Dustin, you have no idea how excited I am to see him on this team. Jets fans haven't been this excited in a long time. So I even said to him, I said, Tony, I'll try to throw a couple strikes so we can get you home and watch the game. And I just felt terrible.
And your Uncle Al is very complimentary of my beard. He says, the beard makes me look like Dan Fouts. Yeah, I'm a lot better looking than Dan Fouts.
You got a better arm, too.
Yeah. Well, now I do. I'm 46 and he's what, 65?
Hey, you still got him. You still got him.
Still got him. All right. So for our last segment of the night, we're going to talk about week 2 and what we're looking forward to. Dustin, going to have you lead off and start off with the most intriguing matchup. So what matchup are you looking forward to this week?
Well, the most intriguing matchup for me is the Patriots versus where did I put it?
Dolphins.
Patriots versus the Dolphins. Yes, because I wanted to see if Tyreek Hill, because he went off, and Tua Tagovailoa et al. Could repeat their success against what looks to be like a very stout New England defense. I think the Patriots defense could be one of the better units in the NFL, and I did not expect to say that, but I should have known it because Bill Belichick is a defensive mind. He's one of the better defensive minds that we've ever seen in the NFL. And but if the Dolphins come out and lay one on New England's defense, that'll go a long way in proving that they could be legit.
So my matchup this week was the Ravens at Bengals. And I'm very interested to see if the Bengals offense can bounce back against another solid defense. And the Ravens historically have had very solid defenses. And I want to see if last week's atrocious performance against the Browns and that damn elf in the middle of the field at Brown Stadium.
Yeah, Brownie the elf.
Brownie the elf. And you heard Jamar Chase say, yeah, we lost to a bunch of effing elves.
Well, here's
you look like an elf yourself.
Yeah.
That game.
I'll give you a little bit of a story. The party we were at, I was at this past weekend was for my niece, who was on a Sunday. And one of my brother-in-law's brothers turns to me, and he watches football, but he turns to me and he goes, "Are the Browns not the Browns anymore?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "What the hell is this logo in the field?" I go, "Oh, that's their elf logo. I guess they used it back in the day, and now they're deciding to switch back to it." But he was 100% serious. He said, "Are the Browns not the Browns anymore?"
Yeah. So needless to say, I'm wondering if the Bengals can bounce back. If that offensive performance was an anomaly, or if it's going to be a trend going forward. Because if it's a trend and they have another clunker against the Ravens, this might be trouble.
Oh, for sure.
And your uncle says Giants Cardinals, 2 teams enter, 1 manages to embarrass itself less.
Oh man.
We're moving on to Desperation City. I'll lead off with this one. I think Desperation City is Chargers at Titans. And the reason why I say this, we alluded to this earlier in the show. If the Chargers lose to Tennessee, let's put it this way, they played the Saints really tough last week. I did not expect that to happen. They played the Saints really tough last week. But if the Chargers lose to Tennessee in an early Sunday game, I think they're in big trouble based on their schedule the rest of the way. And they have a really, really early bye week this year. I think their bye week is week 5 bye week, like the Browns are. So This is their schedule. This is their schedule after week 2. Vikings, Raiders, bye week, Cowboys, Chiefs, Bears, Jets, Lions. That's just their first half of the season. That's a tough schedule.
Yeah. And
I think if they don't win in Tennessee, it's a bumpy road ahead for them.
I would agree with you. And also, Tennessee, Ryan Tannehill threw what, 3 interceptions last week? I mean, so both teams, Vrabel's gonna that Titans team, he's gonna have them mad. So it could be a tough road to hoe for the Chargers.
Yeah. What's your Desperation City game of the week?
Well, this one's a little personal for me, but I'll tell you, and I'm not saying that they have to win, even though they pretty much have to win, but I'm already setting myself up. You can't drop a game to the Rams. You can't drop a game to the Rams when you have the Lions the next week. The Lions are a great team. Okay, I know it's early for me to say this, but I just like the feel of the Lions. We both extolled the virtues of Dan Campbell, but the concerning thing for me is, like I said earlier in my speedy rant, the players admitted that the effort was an issue in the loss. If you come out the next week and lay another egg against the Lions, if you have another performance where you're questioning the effort against the Lions team that Dan Campbell will have ready to run through a wall, it's gonna be a tough season. The Seahawks better win and or make it extremely competitive against the Lions, or else their season is done before it even really begins.
Well, don't forget last year, the Seahawks went into Detroit and they had a high scoring game and they wound up surviving that one.
Yes.
So I can see a situation where history could repeat itself.
And I hope it does, because that was legitimately one of the most entertaining games on the schedule last year. And no, I'm not talking because that was the game that DK Metcalf got carted off the field because he had to go to the bathroom. I
couldn't hold it in any longer.
Yeah, it's one of the greatest.
On the sideline doing the pee-pee dance.
It's one of the greatest tweets I've ever seen. He tweeted after the game that clench walk wasn't going to cut it. But I'm telling you, they've got to do much, much, much better next week, or they are in some real trouble.
Yeah. Well, speaking of clinching, we would rather drink castor oil than watch this game. And Dustin, I think we're in agreement with this one. Bears at Buccaneers is going to be a crap show. Yeah. And I say this because Todd Bowles is going to scheme Justin Fields to death. And it's going to be in the sweltering heat of Tampa at Raymond James Stadium, where nobody from the North plays really well in that stadium when it's that hot and that humid in the Florida heat and humidity. And Todd Bowles, like he did last week with Kirk Cousins, forcing turnovers, doing just enough to win the game, not allowing more than 20 points. And the Bears, they showed who they were last week. Yeah. They're still growing. They're still awful. I think this is. I'd rather not watch this game. I'd rather drink castor oil than watch this game.
Yeah, this one's going to be tough to get through. Because Justin Fields, I thought he was going to ascend. I thought he was going to make the jump this year. I had the Bears doubling their win total from last year, from going from 3 to 6 wins. I don't see how any of that happens. It was just very disappointing from the Bears last week. And like you said, with a defensive mind like Todd Bowles, he's going to be having Justin Fields. He's going to have their number out there. And the Bears, this is going to be a slog to get through. I
pity those in Tampa and in Chicago who have to watch this game.
Yes.
Unless you have Red Zone.
I hope you have Red Zone and or the Sunday ticket. Save yourselves.
Yep. That's why I have NFL Plus. Red Zone, baby.
Oh, yeah.
All right. And last but not least, the individual players to watch in week 2. Dustin, go ahead. Who's your player to watch in week 2?
Well, this kind of dovetails off your most intriguing matchup, but I'm going to have both of my wild eyes on Joe Burrow next week, because I picked the Bengals to go to the Super Bowl, and I have a lot of faith in Joe Burrow, who he is as a player. I think and the way that he handles himself. I'm a Joe Burrow fan, but these starts are concerning. Some people might argue, oh, don't worry, Joe Burrow is going to figure it out. Joe Burrow is going to figure it out. But much like they say in the NBA, sometimes they say, oh, the really good players can turn on the switch when they want to. Sometimes you go to turn on the switch and it's just not there. And last week, Joe Burrow managed 82 passing yards against the Cleveland Browns.
Gross.
And if he does not bounce back in a significant way, I'm going to start to wonder whether this is something we should be concerned about.
Well, don't forget, too, the Bengals got off to a really slow start last year, too.
They did.
And they cleaned it up, and they wound up going to the AFC Championship.
Yeah.
So it's early. It's only week 1. It's a long season ahead. But, yeah, like you said, like we've both been saying, if the Bengals aren't the Bengals we've seen from last year, tend to be a little concerned. So for me, my player to watch in week 2 is Tyreek Hill.
Oh, yeah.
I doubt that he'll replicate his performance in San Diego from last week, especially since the pass rush of the Patriots is a lot better than the pass rush of the Chargers.
Yeah.
Regardless, it's going to be interesting to see what he can do against this Patriots defense. Historically, I believe he has not performed very well. Especially last year in the Dolphins uniform. Although this game's in Foxborough, so he doesn't really particularly play well in Foxborough, if I'm not mistaken. We'll do the research later. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. I appreciate that, especially any Dolphins fans out there. But I want to see how Tua can handle the pass rush of the Patriots, which is a lot stiffer than the Chargers. And I want to see what Tyreek Hill can do against the Patriots secondary, which is a lot more stickier than that of the Chargers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And before we go, we got to make one more quick visit to the comment section. Wonka the Saint says, surviving undefeated Miami Dolphins crew should be living in fear unless someone breaks Tua's leg. Hope doesn't happen. Miami's fun so far. Yeah, as long as Tua stays healthy, this team is always going to be dangerous. Hawk TV joining in says, resurgence of the Zack attack in New York. Yeah, in a way. Well, we'll see what happens. I'm kind of rooting for him to kind of figure it out this year.
I like the dynamic between him and Aaron Rodgers on Hard Knock. Rodgers was always busting him for his headband. He's like, I have to wear it. It keeps the sweat out of my eyes.
I get sweaty.
yeah.
And the last word of the night goes to Wonko the Saint. Says, yes, Dustin, bring back Burrow the Great in week dose. Thank you, guys. Great show and a fun time. Thank you for joining us, Wonko. We appreciate you stopping by and visiting the comments section.
Always great to have you here, Wonko.
And we'll be back next week. We got to figure out the day and time because I got something going on Tuesday, but we'll figure it out. We always do. We're always flexible. All right. So we're going to get out of here. Before we do that, just need to remind you of our social media channels right down here below: Twitter, Instagram, scarcely use TikTok at NoCredsREQ, Facebook.com/NoCredsREQ, YouTube.com/NoCredsREQ. Leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let people know that we're out there. On the podcast side, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Google Play, wherever you podcast, subscribe, listen, rate and review. 5 stars is the best rating to give us. And if you leave a review, we'll even read it on the air. Thank you for watching or listening to us this week, folks. You have been watching or listening to No Crunches Required, where you don't need a press pass to talk sports. And as always, we are presented by Belly Up Sports in association with Godzilla Media. For Dustin Henry, I'm Ryan McCarthy. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week for week 2 of NFL action. Till then, take care and enjoy
everybody.
the football.